Hello, everybody. Dr. Gordon is off today, so I'm Mark Mellinger filling in. Linda is with us as always. Take a look at the picture back here. That's beautiful. I think that's from a ranch in Colorado that Dr. Gordon has actually been to. And the reason we're pointing out the picture is because we're talking about a stream today. Yes. A stream, a river, whatever,
because
right?
Linda's imagination goes wild.
It does go wild sometimes, yeah. And today, this is actually a good way that it's going wild. You're saying fertility is sort of like a river or a stream, right?
Yeah, I sort of imagine the patients being the stream.
The patients are the stream, okay.
And their goal is to get to the big bodies of water being pregnancy.
Okay, the larger body is pregnancy, okay.
And it's more calm and they're see, but then the stream on the way to that can be very treacherous and very upsetting and stressful for them.
A lot of stuff can happen. And that's probably one thing we should tell people is if you're about to go through fertility treatment, get ready to be flexible and just assume that there will be obstacles, right?
Right. But the thing about the obstacles is, just like with the stream moves around the obstacles or goes over them.
Yeah.
Or in some cases goes under them, goes underground. But basically in fertility, we always have the goal of getting past the obstacles and having a success story for our patients.
What are the most common obstacles?
One of the most common with IVF is that the recipe, as Dr. Gordon calls it, but the protocol, medication protocol, doesn't really work for this person for this cycle. Mm-hmm. And they don't stimulate like we thought they would.
Okay.
And
you don't know that until you try it.
Right. And that's very disappointing. It's very upsetting for the patients and for us because we're, Dr. Gordon, with all his experience, is trying to pick the best medicines to get the best outcome for the patient.
Mm-hmm. So that's a big one. Anything else that you would point out that are pretty common?
Pretty common on the natural cycle IVFs is when they come in for their baseline and they're ready to start into the cycle where they're going to have their embryo transfer, within the cycle that the embryology lab is open.
Right.
And their periods don't line up.
That's frustrating.
And sometimes even though they take an oral contraceptive, something happens and it just doesn't do what we think it's going to do and they're not ready to start. And so they miss out on the cycle.
That's frustrating.
For us, it's a month. For a patient that's going through fertility, that's like a huge, huge block of time for them. Mm-hmm. And I get that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what you were saying before we started this, that the key is to be flexible, to have some flexibility. I mean, what does being flexible look like in those situations? Is it just knowing that this could happen and not getting too frustrated by it, or is it something else?
That's part of it. Mm-hmm. On the front end, if you because we can't guarantee, and just like with the frozen embryo transfers for our NAPC patients and our Southeastern coming back to have more of their embryos, sometimes they come in on their last ultrasound and they've grown a follicle. So on those patients, we don't want them having their own hormones.
Right.
Obviously. And so that either puts off or cancels their cycle, and that's really hard too. Because there's a lot of prep and a lot of injections for some of these cycles. There's a lot of medicines, a lot of money, and most people aren't rich. And this is something that is, it's their true heart's desire. It's not just, oh, I wish I had a milkshake right now. Oh, well, don't have the money right now. So it's, this is like life-changing things for them. And even though we do this every day, they live with this every day. And it's, I just can't stress how much personal it is for each one of them. And, everybody's different, means a little bit different things, but for all of these patients that are trying to have a baby, however, whether adopting embryos, whether their own embryos, whether they're starting out with IVF, or even IUI cycles in our clinic, it's really hard. And when those pregnancy tests come back negative or something happens that can't even go through the cycle, it's really devastating.
And you just need to be prepared for it, and nothing wrong with talking with the third party about this because it is hard. There are the obstacles. There's the grief of infertility in the first place. There's the financial stress because it's certainly not cheap. And I think one thing that really adds a wrinkle into all of it, and this is just a general observation. I'm not saying it's always true all the time, so don't send me nasty emails. But what you've seen is that men and women tend to process the grief of infertility differently, and that can cause you stress too, right? Because a woman really
stress between the couples.
That's what I mean. It can cause stress between the couples because it seems to me women really internalize the grief of infertility, and if they think, well, the man's not processing it the way I am, he doesn't feel it like I do, or he thinks, wow, she's taking this too seriously. Well, there's friction right there, right?
Right. And on top of all the other. So we definitely recommend it that if you feel like you need to, or if you're not sure where you need to and you want to try it, there are fertility support groups out there with people that are going through the same or have gone through the same things that you are probably going through. And sometimes that helps, just to have somebody that's not in that family talk to.
That's right. Sometimes it's just the power in sharing your story and being known. Sometimes just sharing with somebody, whether they're offering advice or anything constructive or not, can be helpful. There's power in being heard. That's for sure. So that's the bottom. But the good thing, I think we should end this on an up note. The good news is we usually do get to if the patients are the tributary trying to get to the big river. So often they do get there.
Yes.
So hang in there, right?
Hang in there, because we're not giving up. We don't give up easily. And we want you to have that pregnancy and that family that you want to have. On another note, there is a relatively new fertility support group that meets in Maryville if you're a local patient. It's actually part of a national one, and it's called Sarah's Laughter. You can Google it, and if you live out of town, Google it. There may be meetings because it's in a lot of different states right now.
That's right. I'm glad you brought that up.
With podcasts and things you can watch, but just something just to throw out there if somebody's interested in that. But the good news is I was able to call somebody a positive pregnancy test, ending this on a positive today. And they'd been through, this was their third time of going through. And I don't know, she was very excited, but I don't know, it was a close call between whether she was more excited or I was.
Those are great moments.
But now she gets to relax just a little bit, and she's like at the lake right now.
Oh, the lake.
In her mind. She can relax and slow down, not as many medicines, take a deep breath, and enjoy.
That's good.
Enjoy it.
That's
enjoy
good.
The scenery.
Well, speaking of enjoying the scenery, Dr. Gordon is being extra generous today to our team, and all the ladies are about to go have lunch at Daddy Max. If you have not been here in West Knoxville, it is a terrific place, so the ladies will enjoy that. Dr. Gordon, thank you. Thank you so much. Yes.
From all of us.
I'll stay here and eat my frozen pizza.
Yeah.
I'm totally fine with that. All right, Linda, hey, and Dr. G is off for yet another week next week, so it'll be the two of us again next week, and we look forward to talking with you then on Facebook Friday.
Happy Friday.